we're still back in the world of a boycott. I feel like we're children of divorce and our parents are arguing a little bit,
dude.
and we're kind of like left on the side. And
Crazy times.
it's still kicking around. Obviously, it's not going to come to any conclusion yet. So we kind of wanted to keep you up to date with a little bit of
we have updates.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Run us through it. What's been going on?
What's been going on? I think since the last time we spoke about this, there's been 2 articles of information that have come out, or from kind of both parties, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we covered the PPA's response, right, which was very...
Or the reasons for the boycott, right? Yeah,
right, which we covered in our last episode. And if you haven't, I'm sure you guys are, if you're this far into the episode, you've been caught up already on that. But oh my God, Premier Padel, the FIP, the Qatari Sports Investment Group, they went in pretty hard, man. Kind of staring down in the eyes of the bull. I'd be a little bit terrified being on the side of the players, right? But I think they made, some pretty interesting and strongly worded remarks, which is a nice way to say it, right?
The tone.
I think what is the, we're going to be referencing our notes here a little bit because everything is just kind of everywhere. We're like we're chat GPTing translations into English, man, from like weird PDFs that we find online. But I think what the main headline is here is that where is this lovely quote that...
So basically, well, first of all, the tone of the response, if you've read the entire letter, the wording is insane.
Yeah.
Premier Padel and the FIP are not happy at all.
Yeah.
What you'd expect, obviously, because it's a boycott, but the way they've worded and phrased things was...
It was mad, bro. It's like they shut down every leverage or,
every claim
that...
They've shut it down completely.
That the PPA made, right?
Yeah, and but like the sort of the main, I guess, thing is, as you were just mentioning now, sort of like the basically the top takeaways from this response from Premier Padel and the FIP was basically they've threatened legal action against the players and against the PPA, calling the boycott illegal, and one of the darkest and most self-destructive moments in paddle history, which, as we said, just this phrase is a crazy wording.
That echoes the stance that these guys are going to take, and it really feels like if they don't find any middle ground, which I think Premier Padel, FIP, all of the above have kind of made, and I think that's their way of being nice, is that they're saying, hey, we can talk, but everything that you've mentioned so far that gives you your sort of leverage over here in terms of the doing a silent boycott, or the players aren't really fully taking on that they're boycotting, and they're trying to find their loopholes where they do have the most leverage here. It really felt like they just sort of took everything away, and I would be terrified to go up against the lawyers, right? I think they have one of like the strongest law firms representing them.
Cuatro Casas, which is one of the biggest and most like powerful law firms in the country in Spain, basically. And just the last sentence of the letter they wrote was just brutal. They were like, we encourage any player who wants to keep going on with this boycott to probably seek legal action, because you're going to soon receive a nice little letter from our lawyers, from our well-respected lawyers from Cuatro Casas. So just so you guys know, we're coming for you, and we're not happy at all. But just to go into like we've kind of touched upon it, but like the main stance of Premier Padel and the FIP was, apart from, shutting down all their arguments, they felt really hurt and offended at the fact that players and the PPA would go against the organization that is trying to grow and nurture the sport. Like, they kept talking about the millions of investment they've done, everything they're trying to do to grow the sport, and how this boycott is basically as nonsensical, because all you guys are doing is all the efforts that we're collectively trying to do, you're basically making them useless.
Yeah, they're
shooting yourselves in the foot, no?
Yeah, they are shooting themselves in the foot a little bit, or that from the perspective of Premier Padel, they're implying that, right? And it's kind of true, right? Like the funding that these guys get is all through from them, and the rapid growth of it, and how they've been supported ever since the QSI has been involved. gosh, we're here with the Paddle podcast. The amount of viewership that's gone up, the popularity, it didn't come from nowhere, right? So it is kind of like, you can imagine they're feeling a little bit of like disrespect, right? Where do we draw the line in terms of, what's actually fair, what's reasonable? It's a little bit hard because we're literally like picking, little.
We're missing a lot of information. We don't know the ins and outs. Yeah.
And really, okay, so basically that's kind of like the nutshell highlight that Premier Padel's now responded with a bit of a backhand to the PPA. Yeah. And it's very hard to put a lot of context or pieces of the puzzle. And I think, a nice perspective or something, I laughed when I initially saw it, but at the same time I wasn't surprised. But when the player list for the next tournament in Cancun came out for another P2 tournament, which, by the way, for those who aren't looped in, it seems like this drama or whatever is coming around the P2 speculations, right? Because a lot of the players are convinced that it's not compulsory to play in them, and Premier Padel's coming back and saying it is. So there is confusion within this, and we'll get there. But who are the names that are playing in the next tournament?
Lebrón and Stupa.
Exactly.
They are the only ones from the top 100 ranked players who've signed up for Cancun so far. I think, are the registrations done?
Yeah, I think registration's closed, dude. And this is like the absolute like villain origin story. If you want to, make a Marvel universe or a Premier Padel universe comparison, right? And of course, it had to be them, right? It had to be them.
As if LeBron didn't need any more bad rep, bad publicity.
You said it, man. Their publicist or whoever manages their PR must be just like losing their mind a little bit because It was shocking, I'll flash it up here, but there's an incredible graphic of, the seeded pairs for Cancun and where Stupa and Lebron lie, and it's incredible how much of an advantage that they have.
However, we did get a statement from Stupa on his social media, sort of explaining the reasons behind their registration in the event.
I mean, you said it nicely. You said he's explaining. He didn't really say anything. It felt like a legal response, man, drafted up by his lawyers. But really, he said a lot of words. But at the end of the day, if you want to pick apart really where Stupa was coming from, he didn't say it. And he was essentially saying that he's like, I respect the players, but I also respect...
I think he was just looking out for himself, because basically what he said in the statement was, I've been after the Premier Padel's response, which, as I just said, their last sort of threatening sentence before they finished the letter. I think basically Stupa was like, okay, well, I heard you because I've read it, and so I will seek legal counseling and see what's up. And he did, and apparently because he quoted what his lawyers had said to him, basically saying, like, we strongly encourage you to stop boycotting due to legal and financial consequences that might come of this.
Yeah.
They're talking about, like, maybe not, like, you might lose sponsors.
Yeah.
You might get, legally sought out by Premier Padel or the FIP kind of thing. So
I think really where the motivations came behind, banding together, call it a silent boycott. But it's, a lot of morals are involved here with a lot of the decisions, right? And once you bring lawyers, and no hate to lawyers, but they don't care about morals at the end of the day. They care about staying safe and making sure that your bank account doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
That's literally it, man. And this is the problem, man, because Stupa and Lebron, that's a new nickname for them, Lupa. They have responsibility here. Yeah. They're in the top 10 players in the world. LeBron, no hate to Stupa, being I'll be honest, one of the faces of paddle.
Yeah.
One of the biggest fan bases of paddle. And that gives them that extra level of responsibility when it comes to this, because really at the end of the day, it's power in numbers when it comes to this. And gosh, man, my feelings are a little bit changed towards them, because it felt like they buckled.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't be scared to get some of these threatening letters that Premier Padel's putting out? But really, it's
strength in numbers, right? Like
exactly.
if they go for all of us, like at least we're united in this, and we're in this together.
Exactly. And now I think the next P2 tournament is in Brussels, right? Which takes us to the end of April. But it's honestly now I think this is going to change the landscape and the motivations and the power that these guys had.
Feels like the strength of the chain has sort of lost one of its pieces, right? One of its main pieces.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
So really, if you look at it from a moral point of view,
yeah,
you kind of lose a little bit of faith now, because I literally won't be surprised if other it doesn't matter if they're in the top 10, but if other sort of top 30 players are like, you know what, I'm gonna go, and it'll be one by one, and it's honestly, it's just the last straw, you know what I mean, that sort of creates that motivation. And look, in that statement that Stupa made, you know, he's saying that it's not about gaining any extra points here or picking it up, but it's like a win-win for them, man, because they don't have to participate in the boycott. They don't have to suffer any sort of like legal pressures coming from Premier Padel. And at the end of the day, of course, they're going to win this tournament. Of course.
And that's the thing. The only thing that comes out of this is the ethical and moral reasons. Obviously, for them, it's win-win, but it's like, is all these winnings, are they worth it? If you're trying to, or initially you were trying to bet on the future of this sport and betting on your fellow colleagues and other players, you know.
Like, I know Stupa put at the bottom of his statement as well that, like, saying if them taking part in this tournament means that, you know, they won't take part in it again on like the next season,
or that they don't participate in some of the tournaments, and another P2 so that other players can play. It's just
like, bro, come on, man. So, you know, it's very interesting seeing Stupa make the response. I don't think LeBron's gonna say anything, and I think LeBron's just gonna let Stupa speak for him, because you know, as much as LeBron's followed, he also has a fair amount of haters, which is fair enough, right? And like, I think Stupa really had to put that statement out because, you know, at the end of the day, they have to deal with the heat, and they got so much of it, because rightfully so, man. Like, you guys folded on the second boycott, man. Like,
I think there is like a silver lining within this Stupa's statement, is that regardless of what he said, and I mean, we hope this is true, but he did speak on the fact that, which is fair enough, which is, I think, is what everyone wants, but he did express his hopes that this whole issue will be solved through dialogue and communication, which is fair enough. And he did say, you know, that there's some improvements being done in terms of I think today, this afternoon. So we still don't know, but this afternoon they're having a meeting. I think the PPA and Premier Padel and the FIP sitting down, trying to see what they can do, which is what everyone wants at the end of the day. Which brings me to my next point, and then I've just got another couple ideas that I want to talk about. But and what Stupa said as well, it's like, and he put it in caps. He's like, we've got a young sport here. We've got so much potential with this sport, which we're already seeing, you know. We're already seeing how it's growing, the fan base that it's creating, and it's such a shame to throw all that away. I'm not talking about, you know, what the ins and outs are, who's in the right, who's in the wrong, what's legal, what's illegal. I'm just talking about big picture. Don't mess it up. Either the FIP or the PPA or the players, whoever, everyone involved, or all the parties that are involved in this. Yes, please do find a way of solving it peacefully and through dialogue, so that brands and sponsors and the fan base can come back to paddle, and you can continue to grow this sport that's got so much potential. You know, don't mess it up.
It does, but it honestly, in these responses, especially Premier Padel's response, like it does feel like they're literally like with a knife, like, come on, sit down with us, man. Like, it's like they don't wanna mess around. And we always mention the people funding this, which is the Qatari Sports Investment Group. Let's not forget that they also own PSG, and they threatened to pull the whole funding for PSG. Like, if you compare, you know, the amount of money that runs through football compared to paddle, man, this is nothing to them. Really, you know, we've got to be brutally honest. Like, the amount of money flowing through this and the amount of money that they're seeing in terms of profit, or they're in the green, is nowhere near enough, man. And to have this much, what's a nice word, ruckus or controversy already surrounded this, it's just going to give them a headache. And there's going to be a point where they're just like, let's pull the plug, guys. Let them find another league. Let's you know, kill the rest of the player base. You know, you don't want it to get sour, but it's already like, these are damaging moments that, you know,
dangerous territory.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really, really hope that it it doesn't get to that.
So it really is a scary time for paddle a little bit, man. I'll be honest, like we try to look positively and enjoy the experiences of watching, a lot of the young players get an opportunity to win. And look how we saw Cabeza and Garcia, secure a win like that. That's amazing. But I'll be honest as well, man. I love watching, the top players perform at the best. I want to watch the best. I want to watch the premier level of paddle, right? And we're not getting that at the moment. I know P1s are coming. I know majors are coming as well. But god damn, man, like it is
it's crazy. I also just wanted to sort of, before we finish, kind of touch up on the fact that Premier Padel and the FIP on their statement, they keep calling this boycott illegal. This illegal boycott, boycott that, but we're not getting the specific the legality of this whole situation. So we can't say for certain because we don't know. But what I'm thinking is, which is I think what the Stupa's lawyers are talking about, is we're talking about
this is the
contractual issues.
Oh my god, this is so stupid.
Which I think is but I think it's important that we speak about it, because it's
course.
Apparently the players signed, like back in the day, a few years back, they signed a contract, 25-year long contract with
the worst type of contract to sign
with Premier Padel, and
oh my God.
in this contract is stipulated, well, obviously all their obligations as players and etc. whatever. So as you said a while back, like maybe like not even the players, it's in English, not even the players exactly know what their obligations are if all the P2s that have to be played, or if they don't, because maybe it's just a few, like there's some info here that we're missing that maybe Premier Padel has got a point from like a legal standpoint.
This is like a big no for me as well. This is why I really feel like Stupa's response was also just like a legal jargon. It's a nothing burger to me. There's nothing really said. He slipped in a few little one-liners there, which give us a little bit of perspective.
Yeah.
But look, if you're in Stupa's position and you're bringing in lawyers to review your legal position and what leverage that you have, and literally to come together, get paid lawyers to look at the contracts that you're involved in, to then make a statement on your public statement on Instagram, literally saying that you're even yourself confused about your contractual rights in your
that's as a professional contract. That is crazy. That if that's the case, again, we don't know for certain. If the case is that players do have contractual obligations that they're not aware of, that's crazy.
It's not okay, man. Not okay. It's not okay for your lawyers to review it and let you make a statement that.
And you as a professional not knowing what those obligations are. Hopefully that's not the case. Again, we don't know for certain, but
it is interesting. I just on the topic of things that are also interesting that came out of this. We haven't really, oh my gosh, when it's this controversial, no one's going to speak out of free will.
Yeah.
However, Stupa's post, I did think it was interesting. We did see, not really a statement made by one of the top female paddle players on this topic. I did think it was pretty interesting that Gemma Triai replied with a all caps vamos, supporting
sort of power to the
exactly. So
individual.
Considering that the top 100 females, or however many top female players, decided to ignore the boycott, it is pretty interesting to see Gemma Triai's stance on this as well, where clearly I think she's supportive of this movement as well, with Stupa, continuing to play in P2. So I thought I'd add that in there because it's
interesting.
That's what we're literally like picking up the little pieces right now and trying to make some sense of this, and what are the general consensus? What is the general consensus towards this with the majority of the player base?
And it's I think it brings us nicely to sort of like a closing point. Like I'm wondering, we haven't seen any declarations yet by anyone else, I don't think, but like, what are other players thinking about? All of a sudden, Stupa and Lebron going back from the boycott. Like, how is that going to affect the relationship within the players? Like, what a short term, what's the future of this whole conflict? As I said, my hopes, and I can't say I think it will. I have no idea what will happen, but my hopes is that this will be solved in a peaceful way through dialogue. That's
I think
the best
so.
case scenario.
I think
that's the best case scenario. But it's tense now.
It's very
tense.
tense.
It's very tense.
It's very tense, and I'm so conflicted because I do enjoy the drama, but not like this. This just feels messy. Like, we want to talk about the games a little bit,
and it's affecting the fan base as
Yeah.
well. I'm
Oh
not
my
saying,
God.
and I'm not saying it's
Dude.
because the players don't want to play, because they're in their right to protest in whatever way they want. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault. I'm just saying the entire situation is, it's affecting the fan base. You and I are part of it. What we want is to watch paddle.
We should shout out the people actually attending Gijón, though.
Yeah,
because,
hats off as well and supporting other players.
They sat there with smiles on their faces. They were celebrating. It was amazing seeing literal kids wanting signatures from some of the players and seeing where the fandom starts, right? And for there being a lack of some of the top players at this tournament, yet they still went and had a good time. I think that's great because this feels like a one-off right now. But if this continues, it's really unfair for the fan base, and it's hard to predict where this is going. But it does feel like dark times. There's some scary moments that are being pulled out, and it's hard to predict where this is going to go. We think we'd all like to be adults and sit down and talk it out and find some middle ground. I have no idea how strong-worded or how firm of a stance Premier Padel, FIP, QSI, all these abbreviations that are form that body of people against the players, really. And I it's hard to say right now because we're getting drip-fed information like this, and we're trying to understand it because you watch the stream, guys. You watch the Premier Padel stream. It's like they don't want to mention anything. Of course, why would they, right? Because it's not a
giving
good look.
power to them as well. They didn't mention it at all. They were acting as if nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
And they, because as they said in their letter as well, they were like, players are not realizing, this is what they said, that this is only affecting them. This is all you guys are doing is jeopardizing the sport. And all these, they also talked about all the Olympic efforts, how initially the PPA's letter was you're not pushing the sport into the Olympics enough. And then Premier Padel comes back saying we're having weekly meetings, which we don't know if it's true or not. That's what they said. We're having weekly meetings trying to push the sport into the Olympics and making it bigger and whatever. It's just two completely different sides of the story, basically, and how they were accusing the PPA of telling the players, just so you guys know, the PPA is misleading you and they're using you in a weird
ultimate gaslighters. Oh my God, it's a toxic time in paddle, guys. Honestly, it really is, and I don't know, it kind of
But this is off court, and we're bringing you the juice. We're bringing you the news, trying to keep you updated. We're doing our best as well to it's. Not gonna lie, guys, this is also, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of research and work to find all these sources of information, translating them, getting into
we appreciate you for those correcting us on some of our little minor errors as well, because it's hard for us to be bulletproof tied. So you guys in the comments as well, we appreciate you guys looking out for us and making sure that we're hitting all the right spots properly, right?
But I do understand as well that it is difficult to.
It's so hard to. I feel like I'm a lawyer
to try and find all these things.
Man.
There's so much information that we can literally have no access to. So this is as close as we can get ourselves and you guys to the drama and what's exactly happening.
I just want to see Koyo just hit a from the back line.
Let's just go back to the good old days, man.
Dude, it felt good for a second. We're only on episode 8. And we're dealing with a boycott, man. What is this?
Let's get back to the kick smashes, to dunks.
Yes, please.
To
It's getting frustrated. I don't want to have to chat GPT a Spanish document to English, you know what I mean, and try and understand it. I just want to see the games. But hey, this is part of it. This is Off Court Podcast.
It is what it is.
I think this kind of wraps up the episode, right? So, thank you very much for tuning in to the 8th episode. Guys, we're sticking at it. We're trying our best, and, we're enjoying.
And I think also last episode did so well.
Yes,
Our little clip as well did really well. Instagram also growing a lot.
Oh my God, yeah. Thank you for the 55K views on our Galan prediction. Who knew making a prediction at the beginning of the season?
We'll see. It is a prediction. Maybe it doesn't happen. Probably won't, but we'll see.
For those who are watching on YouTube, if you don't follow us on our Instagram, or even if you're a little bit younger and on TikTok, find us on there because we do post on there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but yeah, big thank you. Thank you to all of you guys and all the cool and amazing support you're giving us on the comments. We read every single one. So yeah, thanks for that.
Exactly. The classic YouTuber outro. Hit that subscribe button.
Yeah.
If you can't watch us, find us on Spotify and put us in the background so you can hear our annoying voices.
Yeah.
But as always, thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you on the next one.
Lovely.
Cheers, guys.